Thank you so much, Doug, for being with us here today. I'm here with Doug Rauch, the founder and president of Daily Table, which he'll tell you more about, former president of Trader Joe's, and a founding board member of Conscious Capitalism, for which he served as CEO for 6 years. He's here to speak today with students from the Yale School of Management, School of Public Health, Divinity, Jackson Institute, undergrad, students across campus who are taking my course on innovation and entrepreneurship in public health. Doug, can you start by telling us a little bit about Daily Table and the theory of change?
Well, first, it's great to be here
Thanks.
and have this opportunity to share ideas. So Daily Table is a concept that came out of a fellowship I was doing actually at Harvard, that other little college up the road. And it came out of a concern around the fact that at the time I was getting mailings saying there's 1 in 6 people that are hungry in America. And what are we going to do about it? So Daily Table is a response to bringing affordable nutrition into the food insecure, the 1 in 6, 1 in 7 now, that are really struggling to eat properly because of economics. So Daily Table is, what makes it a little different, a little innovative, if you would, is that it's a retail format. So it's, in a way, it's hunger relief masquerading as a retail food store.
So it's a supermarket.
It's like a supermarket, but no one would call it a supermarket. It's a food market. We only carry 450 SKUs, or individual items. And the reason for that is we don't carry so much of what otherwise wouldn't be good for your health. We don't carry soda and cookies and candy and cakes. We don't carry high sodium items, lunch meats and things like this. These are all, we only carry items that a panel of world-class nutritionists have put together from Harvard School of Public Health, from Children's Hospital in Boston and Boston Medical Center, et cetera. And that's where I had the learning that even orange juice, they said, shouldn't carry orange juice. Too high in sugar.
Hide my orange juice.
No, too high in sugar. It's basically soda without carbonation. And I was like, wow, vitamin C, you're better off eating an orange. So Daily Table is really around an understanding and a recognition that first, the solutions we have in place are necessary, but they're not sufficient. Food banks, food pantries, soup kitchens, they're necessary. They do wonderful work. But even with 40,000 of them in America, we still have 1 in 7 that are food insecure. So it's clear they're necessary to do what they're doing, but they're not sufficient. They're not going to take care of the problem. So, and part of that's because people have a natural inclination to want to shop. They don't want someone just giving them a handout.
Right.
So Daily Table is also designed around tapping into that need for human dignity that all of us have. And by creating an environment where people are going and shopping, even if they're just paying pennies on the dollar, by tapping into that need to go shop or that desire to go have a sense of agency that I acquired the food for my kids, is really critical. And then by the fact that they're actually choosing it, they're more psychologically engaged in using it. And whereas if I just give them a bag or I give them a handout, sort of thing, one, they don't feel so good about that. So you have, a sense of a little bit of shame and embarrassment. And then second, they may not use it. So some of the healthier fruits or vegetables in there, if they're not familiar with them, or then they may not use them. So Daily Table is really designed around trying to tackle this issue of food insecurity in sort of a subversive way of using the power of the marketplace, of people choosing, and because they have the purse, they then control the power differential. And so we have to earn their patronage every day, which flips the usual sort of nonprofit relationship.
And how do you get the prices to be so low? If you're able to do this, why hasn't it been done before? Why is 1 in every 6 people hungry?
Well, 1 in 6 people are hungry in America because we have a systemic system problem. And it starts with the Farm Bill. And it starts at actually, all the roots go way back to the Depression. And in the Depression, farmers were walking off their farms because with depressed crop prices, but yet their bank loan stayed the same. So in a depression, you don't want debt because you got to pay back that debt with dollars that are decreasing. Inflation, you like debt because you're paying it off with now inflated dollars. The debt becomes less and less in real terms. In a deflation, it's the opposite. So people were just leaving the farm left and right. And America was about to literally have a crisis of no one growing food. Because at that time, the average farm was a small farmer. So Harold Ickes, who was the Secretary of Agriculture, said, we're going to put in price guarantees that will allow a farmer to say, we'll buy your corn, we'll buy your wheat at a set price that will allow you to pay back that bank loan. Stay on your farm, grow this product, and we'll buy it from you at a set price. And those subsidies, those guarantees, basically in a way saved America. And they continued on, of course, through World War II when it started. And by the time the war ended, now you've got almost 10, 12 years of these subsidies.
Does that include the corn subsidy?
Yeah. And what happened is very hard to get rid of them at that point. So that became the foundation of what happened was it grew and grew and grew to the point nowadays where the average farm isn't a small individual farmer. And there's massive agribusiness that is reaping tons of benefit from these subsidies. And we have a whole system now that for the first time in history makes it possible to get the calories you need, but not the nutrition. So in the past, it would be very hard to get 2,000 calories a day and not get enough fiber or nutrients and things. But because of high fructose corn syrup and how cheap it is because we subsidize corn, you can end up with soda and processed food giving you more than 2,000 calories a day, but end up being nutriently starved.
And that's why hunger in America looks like obesity.
Exactly, yeah. Obesity is a face of hunger in America for the vast majority of the 1 in 7 that are food insecure. And so basically it is a system problem, but the way that Daily Table gets around that is there's two aspects to it. One is that, sadly, almost 30% to 35%, we don't know the exact number, the food that we grow is what goes to waste. And literally just goes to waste. Perfectly good food. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's out in the farm because it's the wrong grade size, or a carrot that bends and they need to all be straight to fit in the bag. I mean, it's just like there's lots of reasons to code dates on things. I bet you that the water I'm holding, this water I'm holding has a code date on it. This has an expiration. This has an EXP.
Water expires?
This one expires in another year and a half. I'm willing to bet the water's probably still really good in there, but it has an expiration date. So we've gone nuts as a society around sell-by, best-by expiration dates, and not 1 in 100 Americans understand code dates. And they think that, oh my God, I can't drink that water. It's 2 months past its code date. And so because of this, we are wasting, tens of millions of pounds of food a year. So one of the ideas around Daily Table is, why don't we go out and collect some of this wholesome, healthy, excess food that either is short on its code, or it's just excess, or it's what I'll call imperfect produce. It's wonky, funny-looking stuff that doesn't make grade, but is perfectly nutritious, and we can use it. So that's what we do. And that lowers our cost of goods sold for the product. And we also go out and buy about 80% of what we sell. We had to go buy. Sometimes we get it at special prices. Sometimes we just pay regular wholesale. But the donated portion lowers our cost of goods sold. And then the second part of it is we have about 300 hours a week of volunteerism, where people from the community, institutions, colleges, organizations all come and donate time, and that lowers our labor cost. So between cost of goods sold and labor cost dropping, it gives us the chance. We're not there yet because you need some scale to get to break even, but we do cover about 70% of our expenses are covered by our own generated revenue, which in the field we're in, which is in hunger relief and healthcare, as a nonprofit, that's world class.
So you're hacking the system because the system is broken, and finding a way to make it work for people who can't afford nutritious food within today's system. Do you have any words of advice on how we might go about actually changing the system, reversing these subsidies, tackling the root cause? Or do you think that perhaps, is it the role of conscious capitalism, or can you say a little bit more about that? Are those two efforts, do they go hand in hand?
I think they do go hand in hand, because it's really, at the end of the day, in a nutshell, what conscious capitalism is that businesses can be and should be a force for good. That structurally, that if you have a business that has a purpose, that is more than just making money. Making money is great. That's sort of the air you breathe, and without it you die. But none of us as living beings would say, my purpose in life is to breathe. And so in the same way, I would say that most corporations, I wouldn't say most, every corporation needs to breathe. They need to have profitability at the end. But that shouldn't be the reason why they exist. They exist to provide goods and services into a marketplace that people will freely choose in a free marketplace and voluntary exchange. And people will choose to shop at a Trader Joe's or at Stop and Shop or somewhere. Or they'll choose to, order online from Amazon, but they're doing it freely without coercion. That one, a business should have a strong sense of purpose. And part of that purpose is an understanding also that my goal here is not to maximize my shareholders' return, is to optimize the value chain for the business, to optimize the value of the business, which happens by having, engaged employees, raving fans as customers, doing good things in the community. All of that, and a lot of data is out there on this, will show you actually get a higher bottom line. That you'll save money on marketing, you'll save money on other stuff.
With long-term thinking.
It's long-term. McKinsey's done a lot of studies on short-termism versus long-termism. Aspen Institute's done a bunch of studies on this, that just thinking longer term. Don't just go for the quarter to quarter, but more than just longer term. It's also about having your eyes just above the bottom line, having your eyes to where you're focused on, products and services that can continue to innovate, that can continue to move forward. And Clayton Christensen of Harvard Business School wrote an article right before Steve Jobs died that the lasting, enduring legacy of Steve Jobs was going to be put product over profit. It's funny to say for an organization that now is the most valued enterprise in the world at over $1 trillion. Yet his point was that Jobs consistently throughout his career pushed excellent, elegant products that were really customer focused, that were user oriented, collaborated, so that's what mattered. And when they come back and say we can't do it, this and we have to make it so that with the iPod, that with this dial that I can get to my song in like 2 bucks. I can call someone with just hitting 3 things here, where all of the stuff that we now think of as Apple and their elegant, it was really around the fact that this is an orientation above the bottom line. And that's really critical. That's a lot of what conscious capitalism is in a nutshell. Then it's also about cultures that allow people to have jobs that are meaningful in a dignified manner. It's about creating workplaces where people get to come and bring their authentic self. So Daily Table fits into that model in a nonprofit manner, because conscious capitalism is really about just the marketplace. It's about that aspect we call business, and that business can be for-profit or nonprofit. And Daily Table's around having a purpose obviously is much higher than making money. It's also about creating environments where you engage with both your staff and your customers in ways where both of them feel better from the exchange. And you get to have a sense of your own personal development, some care and trust, and you end up working in an environment and engaging with a business that you're proud of and proud to engage with.
Doug Rauch and the Daily Table, a living, breathing example of conscious capitalism using businesses to serve society, change society, and change the system. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. It's been great.